Hi guys, Attila from the third coat here. Just want to show you an issue that you might run into even at your own house. I run into this every now and then on interior jobs, where you can probably see how the paint has cracked here and here. It's wrinkling, and you see it here, and you know, maybe you're first into, and you know, you can see sort of little wrinkles forming every now and then, here and there, and your first instinct might be that, you know, there's something wrong with the paint. You know, it was poor quality paint, or something wrong with the top coat, yeah. But almost all the time it's just a sign of a poor adhesion, not necessarily of the last coat, but of sometime in the past. You know, obviously most houses will have had multiple coats of paint on the walls, and one of those coats of paint just has poor adhesion, and as a result, this is what happens. The paint will just sort of bubble up, and eventually it just can't handle that sort of stress, and it will crack. The paint film will crack, and a lot of times it's either an issue. It's sometime down the track there was an oil-based coating, and they used water-based on top of it without proper preparation, or other times it's also quite often quite frequent that the very first coat of paint straight on top of the original plaster just didn't adhere properly. So either the plaster itself was dusty, and you know, the undercoat didn't stick properly, or they didn't even use an undercoat. Even nowadays, you know, it's pretty common for, especially in apartments. A lot of times they just expect no undercoat on the ceiling, just two top coats on the ceiling, right? And that will over time result in the same issue, because ceiling paint is not doesn't have great adhesion, even though it's flat, but it has a lot of colour in it, and not enough binders, so it's not good quality paint. But anyway, that's a different issue altogether. But here, you know, so you might think, how do you fix it? You know, so you'll be tempted to just sort of go over it with some sort of plaster and skim coat it and hide all those wrinkles. But that's not a solution really, because the bubble is still going to be there underneath, and the poor adhesion will still be there, and it's only a matter of time before it appears again in some shape or form. So the only way to solve this problem is to simply scrape it off, remove whatever is loose, and you know, when this sort of stuff happens, it's more than likely that it's very extensive, right? So it's not just in one little spot. It might be in the whole bloody building, because whoever did the job originally had a system, and that's how they did the whole house. So you know, you're just going to be hoping that it's not too extensive, but it most likely will be. So I mean, I'll show you in another area that I've already started. Have a look at that. I mean, I can keep going. I can keep going forever. And all of that is just started with these little sort of little wrinkles and little cracks. But once you get in underneath, oh, that one might actually be a different issue, some sort of a crack in the plasterboard. But you know, there are some little wrinkles somewhere around here, and once you start digging in and scraping it off, everything just keeps coming off. Have a look at this. And If the paint comes off this easily, then that means that it has to come off, because otherwise it's just going to start bubbling and cracking again in no time. So yeah, this is just to show you, that when you see little wrinkles and little cracks on the wall, it's not about some sort of a top coat issue, but it's an adhesion issue underneath that will not be resolved unless you actually remove all the loose coatings, right? Just a little bit of an addition to that, to this video, because yesterday, before I finished, I went to the client's toilet and noticed that the ceiling had similar sort of cracking issues, exhibited similar issues as the walls and some parts of the ceiling in the other room, and asked the client if they wanted me to do something about it, and they said, yeah, go ahead. So it's 15 minutes ago that ceiling was white, and now all the paint is down there, and the issue here is slightly different, because I did mention that sometimes it can happen due to old oil-based paint, and then the next coat of paint has adhesion issues, and this is what happened here. Even oil-based over old oil-based gloss doesn't adhere properly, so you got to be aware of that. Some people think that oil-based gloss sticks to everything, but that's not the case. It doesn't stick to old oil-based gloss not without cleaning and sanding properly. And there might be some other issue there as well. Some other paint went on top of the old oil-based gloss as well, and that might have had adhesion problems as well. Although, yeah, it's hard to tell now with a number of different coats of paint in the past. So, but yeah, it's just another example of what happens. No, that's not good. What happens when you don't prepare your surface properly, and that's where it ends up. So. So now the question is, what do you do now to get it ready for painting? Well, first of all, make sure that all the loose stuff is off. Yeah. So now I've removed all the loose paint, but I will still sort of muck around a little bit up there, just to see if anything else wants to come off. But most of it I will just do with a thorough clean with sugar soap, and probably a bit of wet sanding, and that should remove all the loose and dirty stuff that's not helping adhesion. And then I'll do a bit of patching and some some skim coating. There's no real cracks that need taping there, so it's just a bit of skim coating really, and then it's ready to prime and paint. I want to add something very important to this video. When you're scraping loose paint and that sort of stuff, especially off ceilings, but even off walls, you must protect yourself from inhaling all the dust, and this is the kind of stuff that I use. It's a full face respirator. I need to use this stuff because I've got a big beard, and the smaller ones, like you can see, the inside half of it, that usually people use that stuff, but it would not really seal around my beard. So this gives me like a double seal. It seals on the outside, but it also seals on the inside of it. And also, because it has a visor kind of thing, it protects my eyes from all the scrapings and dust, and because stuff that goes into your eyes will make its way down into your mouth, and you might end up swallowing it, and it's not good to get any of that sort of stuff into your system. If you know me, then you know that I try to look after myself like that. I mean, I can't avoid getting contaminated by various products, materials and fumes and whatever, but just to do whatever is reasonable to minimise your exposure, I suppose. So when you're scraping and sanding shit, you got to wear something like this. Don't even think about it, paper shit, that little stuff. That is absolutely useless. You got to wear a proper respirator, either a full face one like this or a half face one, which is like on the inside half of it. Right. Okay, look after yourselves and enjoy your job. Bye.